morning, everyone. Welcome to Daily Crew Connect. This has been a really rewarding kind of program that Washington State's been doing. I know I've tuned in pretty much any day that I can, and so I'm enthusiastic about being able to share with you today. So I am Rocky Lucas. I work at the College of Veterinary Medicine in the Counseling and Wellness Department. And what I'm sharing with you today is one of the 9 dimensions of wellness, which is spiritual wellness. We have a program going on with the College of Veterinary Medicine where we're doing a Wellness Wednesday. So later on this afternoon, they'll be getting their own version here, where we talk about the different areas of wellness, kind of with the tie-in to the COVID pandemic and how you can implement and spend this time that you're reflecting and trying to figure out your life to really touch on some of these areas. So before I get started on spiritual wellness specifically, I just kind of want to review the 9 dimensions of wellness. And some of the language that's used to describe these comes from Ohio State University, which is the kind of source that I use to get a lot of this information, even though I've implemented these dimensions in my practice for several years. First is physical wellness, which is good sleep, good diet, exercise, medical checkup, safe sexual health practices. Spiritual wellness, which we'll be focusing on today. I'll give you some more details here in a bit. Intellectual wellness, which is valuing lifelong learning, critical thinking, moral development, having an open-minded worldview, and consistently seeking knowledge. Emotional wellness, meaning that you can identify, express, and manage an entire range of emotions and be able to seek out assistance as necessary. Environmental wellness, recognizing the connection between nature, mankind, and the individual, and seeking to preserve and protect. Financial wellness, managing financial state to include budgeting, saving, and working towards realistic life goals. Occupational wellness, seeking a career which will provide personal enrichment and satisfaction and maintaining alignment with goals, values, and passions. Creative wellness, which I had the pleasure of presenting here at Daily Crew Connect about a month ago. Seeking to understand the world around them via pursuits related to art, culture, and the diversity of experiences. And finally, social wellness, which is having a network of support based on trust, respect, reciprocity, and empathy for the feelings of others. So once again, I've been doing one of each one of these for the veterinary school staff and students the last few weeks. So if you find this spiritual wellness presentation particularly interesting, feel free to head over to the College of Vet Med Counseling and Wellness site. We've posted each of our webinars for several of these the last few weeks. So you can check those out if you find today interesting. So spiritual wellness, this goes kind of beyond, obviously it includes God and religion, but it goes beyond that as well. As a counselor, as a clinical social worker, obviously I don't come from a Christian counseling background or training, so I don't necessarily utilize that in my practice. However, people's beliefs, whether it be in a higher power, in connection to the universe, connection to God, really does impact their overall health in a lot of different ways. In my years of practice, I've seen that if people feel like they are spiritually sick, if they feel like they're not living up to their own values, or if they don't feel like they even know what their own values are, that causes so much distress. And so one of the reasons I wanted to share with this topic with you guys today is a lot of us are reflecting more than ever. We're having more time just to think about life, the meaning of it, our connection to other people, our connection to a higher power if we have that belief. And so if you're going to be feeling that and experiencing that anyway, which you probably are, how can you go about making it meaningful? How can you go about actually improving those spiritual connections right now? So some of the questions to ask yourself in regards to, am I spiritually well? Have you identified the values and the beliefs which are important to you? So obviously to be a spiritually well person, you need to know what that means to you. And so, as a counselor, as a therapist, I work with people that come from a lot of different belief systems, religious backgrounds, and my focus is not on which one do you believe. My focus is on, all right, what is your belief system? Why is it important to you? And how is that, how do you utilize that to impact the direction of your life? So, if that first question kind of confuses you, you kind of get stuck there. So it's probably the most important is, have you identified those values and beliefs which are important to you? The second question to ask yourself is, have you taken the time to learn about the values and the beliefs of those around you? And so that does not mean that you have to buy into or stand in agreement with people who have beliefs and values that are different than yours. It's just a matter of kind of your own personal spiritual growth over time can happen in a much more peaceful and efficient manner if you do understand the beliefs. It helps you connect better to people. I know that I do have my own personal set of values and beliefs in regards to God, the universe, and to really get close to me, you're probably going to want to understand that. That's going to be part of our relationship, a part of our connection, and you want to be able to do that same thing for others. And I know that I'm almost 40 now. When I was 20, my worldview shifted quite a bit, and I'm happy that that worldview has shifted. And that part of that's happened because I took the time to learn from and have an open mind to people that were different than me. Another question to ask yourself, are your daily decisions, habits, and rituals in alignment with those values? So this is where you can really kind of get distressed. This is where like your overall health, both physically and emotionally, can break down is, if you believe a certain way and you have a certain set of values, this is kind of what it means, for me to be a person, to have connection, and that you're not doing those things. You're living an everyday life with decisions that go against that. Maybe you're working jobs that go against that, or have relationships that go against that. One of the really best examples I can think of for this, I had a friend back in West Virginia who got a job at the Hershey factory. He got a job as like a salesman, guy for Hershey's, really high paying job. But he was so into health and fitness that it was just, for months, he really struggled. He's like, I'm trying to help people like really improve their health. And then I'm also handing them Hershey bars because like that's part of my job too. And so eventually he had to leave that job and find something else, not because there was anything wrong with working at Hershey's, but for him, the direction he had taken was not in alignment with what his beliefs and goals were. And so he had to make a change. So that kind of leads into the next questions. Are your values and beliefs what drive your overall life goals? And so as a counselor, we kind of, call that motivational interviewing when we kind of bring that up in a session is, okay, here's what you're doing. Here are, what your decisions are, here's what your life looks like. And these are your values and beliefs. That's not, mixing together. No wonder you're kind of, stressed out. No wonder you're not at your best. And so take a look at whether or not what those stated values and beliefs are what you're using to drive those life goals, if those are what you're using to pursue your dreams. Do these values and beliefs connect you with those around you and the universe as a whole? And so once again, different personalities can come into play. Some people are more content being homebodies. Some people are, content not to have an active social life and have a whole lot of connection. And other people really could thrive on that. They really need that. But ultimately, no matter what your personality and no matter what your comfort level in regards to being around others, connection, relationships, having that connection, feeling like you are loved and supported, feeling like you're part of family, feeling like you're part of a community is essential to your overall health. And so if you do have values and belief which seem to like drive everyone away from you, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to declare yourself wrong. It just means, okay, how can I re-examine this? How can I learn from these people around me who maybe I do respect and want to connect with, and figure out where, what commonalities we have, so kind of looking at it in that way. And then last but not least, are you open-minded to the possibility of change? I would doubt that anyone who stumbled upon the truth of the universe when they were a teenager or a young adult and stuck with that their whole life, had the most spiritually well life. That's kind of not, what we want to be. We kind of want to take in more and more. Not that we want to lose any part of ourselves, but I would hope that, the 20-year-old, the 40-year-old, 60 and 80-year-old version of me, that I'll continue to grow, that my spiritual connectedness with other people and with the universe as a whole will actually grow through these continued experiences. And the fact that I'm open-minded to, okay, this was a little crazy. Why did I ever think that? Or, okay, I can implement this as part of my belief system. So some strategies for improving your spiritual wellness. Spend daily time in prayer, meditation, yoga, guided relaxation, or anything along those lines. Many of these habits are things that we already implement. and maybe we just don't think of them in regards to that spiritual connection. And so you may have different comfort levels or different interests, but each one of these kind of encourages us to calm down and connect. It's hard to be spiritually well. It's hard to have connection to other people in the universe as a whole if we're rushing around, if our mind is scattered, you know. But if you take the time to say, okay, right now, in this moment, what am I feeling? You know, what is my connection? Where are the places where I want to connect better? These are some of the activities that you can do for that. This next one, it's kind of, you know, twofold. One, you want to connect with others who share your beliefs and values. So that's one part of it that's very important. If you know what you're passionate about, if you kind of are like, yes, this is what I believe, you know, this is the life that I want to live, then make sure that you connect with other people who have that same belief so you can kind of get that sense of camaraderie and brotherhood, you know. And then also, you want to connect with others whose beliefs and values you wish to learn more about. And so I have a friend back in West Virginia who is Jewish, and I'd never been to a Jewish synagogue. I did not understand a lot of the Jewish holidays. And so it has been one of the most rewarding aspects of kind of my spiritual growth to learn about her belief system and to experience her joy in, you know, those celebrations. It's not that I share her beliefs, you know, I don't necessarily believe it true, like on a base level. However, you know, I get almost just as excited as her because when I watch just how much this means to her and the way that her family and her community connects with one another, being able to be a part of that is rewarding to me, you know, just in that sense. Take inventory of your current life goals and relationships. Are they in alignment with your values and beliefs? So once again, this is just an opportunity for you to say, okay, yes, these areas of my life, my values and beliefs, it's really clicking. You know, this is why these areas of my life are so peaceful, and, you know, and why I kind of, you know, take comfort from those. And then you can say, wow, this thing that I'm doing, this person that I talk to, this aspect of my life is totally, you know, outside of what my values and beliefs are. That's probably an area of your life which causes you a lot of stress. So think about the ways that you can bring those into further alignment. Spend time in nature. Our spiritual wellness is very connected to environmental wellness. So things like spending time in nature, going on hikes, early AM kind of, you know, walks in the forest. One of my favorite things to do are things that can really kind of make you feel connected to nature and the universe as a whole. And explore spirituality through creative expression. Our spiritual wellness is very, very connected to our creativity. There's a reason that so many great pieces of arts have religious connotation to them. There's a reason why so many of the most beautiful churches and architecture, you know, are known for their architecture and the stained glass windows, is because of those connections. So those are a couple of ways that you can explore spirituality through creativity. And so along with these kind of just, you know, overall ideas, there's also significant clinical links to mental health when it comes to being spiritually well. And some of this information was compiled by my colleague at Counseling and Wellness, Bethany Colapreet. So and here in a minute, I'll show you the slide that has the actual research study we got this from, but she found a research study from a few years ago that just talked about, it was a meta-analysis in regards to a lot of studies on the relationship between spiritual health and physical health. So some religious and spiritual practices can help support mental health by providing a coping mechanism for life stressors. And so once again, outside of the realm of, you know, what someone believes is true, or if I believe it's true, you know I can also speak anecdotally for the fact that in my years as a counselor, people that have a strong spiritual belief system, no matter what it is, are often able to rely on that in times of distress and can kind of provide a coping skill. Effective therapy and psychiatry practices often include both cognitive, behavioral, and spiritual components. And so it's certainly not something that we can ignore. If, you know, I know that when I have sought out either physical health from a medical provider or mental health services in the past, it's meant a lot to me when those providers took the time to ask about what my beliefs were, because they wanted to make sure that, you know, what they were going to provide me was not going to be contraindicated by any of my own beliefs. And so I try to do that as well. It's not necessarily what you believe, but are you living what you believe? And so that's the question that I like to ask. And then from there, therapy can go forward. A meta-analysis of 12 years of psychiatry articles showed 72% of religious commitment variables were beneficial to mental health. And so obviously that does leave some, I didn't quite dig into what the 28% were that weren't. Obviously, not every aspect of religiosity or spiritual belief is helpful to our mental health, but the vast majority of them are. And so that same analysis showed 92% of social support related variables were beneficial to mental health. And so once again, if you are seeking out spiritual connection, you're often seeking out connection with other people. You're often seeking out connection with other people who can provide you comfort. You're often seeking out connection with people who maybe kind of share in some of your viewpoints about the universe. And so those very behaviors themselves can seek to calm you down and relieve you from an emotionally distressing situation. And ultimately, as medical providers, as therapy providers, as whatever job you're doing, respect for an individual's beliefs will factor significantly into their well-being in times of emotional distress. So, and if you are someone who's in need of support, you certainly don't want someone coming to correct you or change the way you look at the world in a certain moment. That's just going to make you defensive. And if someone's coming to you for help, you're not going to be doing that for them. So, and in case you're wondering, that number 3 on my references, that is the research study that I kind of got a lot of that information from. And so, like I said, the research does back that there's a strong correlation between spiritual well-being and our mental and physical health. And like I said, both, anecdotally as a therapist, I can speak for that as well. So before I wrap up for today, I just wanted to kind of give all of you guys a chance to share, whether, probably in the chat where we've got a lot of folks, if there's any, thing during this time that you've done to try to enhance your spiritual health, or any ideas that you have for taking advantage, like I said earlier, of this reflection time to really focus your spiritual wellness going forward. Alrighty, just continue to think about that. And once again, if you want to check out our website, we have all that up. And please do come back tomorrow. I will try to be making it in tomorrow for Sharon's presentation on remote worker communication tips. So thank you guys once again very much for coming up, and we look forward to seeing you back tomorrow.